You're listening to the We Are Libertarians Podcast Network. Find all of our shows at wearelibertarians.com. You're listening to the We Are Libertarians Network. Learn more at wearelibertarians.com.
We'll do our best to project.
I'm half deaf anyway, so everything I say is loud.
Welcome to the Boss Hog of Liberty podcast. This is episode number 432 of East Central Indiana's favorite podcast. Jeremiah Morrell here, joined by executive video producer, audio engineer, and the guy that somehow gets us on the air each and every week, Mr. Zach Burcham.
Good evening.
Welcome. In the other co-host chairs tonight, we've got Forrest Plank.
Hello.
And Mr. Bones. Welcome, guys.
Howdy.
Tonight we'll start the candidates series for the podcast. We're going to try to get everybody booked on and through this building over the next I guess 4 weeks or so between now and when the primary happens in May. To start it out this week, we're going to have the Democrat candidates for Henry County Sheriff. So we're going to have David Bockover and Landon Dean with us. We just did a nice, fun Patreon where they all got warmed up and settled in, and now they're relaxed and ready to have a conversation with us. So we're going to talk about the issues as we see them going into the election cycle, their vision for the sheriff's department, and how they think things should be run. This show is about our lives in rural Indiana. We're here to push your boundaries and make you think as individuals. Sometimes it'll provoke you, other times it'll make you laugh, but hopefully you always learn something new. Mr. Bones, we just did a nice 10-15-minute Patreon.
There's some big news on Patreon.
We did miss having Forrest on it. So that was your
whoa. I don't know.
Some people missed having me on.
One person.
But there was some big news.
There was.
So
I got to make
check
the
it
announcement.
Out. You did a fine job. I think Sarah's going to love the way it worked out.
Mm-hmm. And wait till the delivery room.
Yeah, it's gonna go great. Got to say some thanks to folks that helped the show get on the air.
Those people would be Jonathan Phillips over at Ed Martin Honda in Indianapolis. We got Blake Reese over at Varsity Outfitters. Tommy Oakes over at Walnut Ridge RV. We got Morrell Monument Cleaning. We got Pottsville Recycle. Those last two are in Rush County, Indiana.
Very good. All right, let's get to know our candidates here tonight. David Bockover, it's the first time we've had you in the building. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Tell us about yourself, where you're from, and just a little bio and why you're sitting here today running for sheriff.
Well, I'm married to my wife. It'll be 24 years in May, day after the election. I have a daughter who's 37. I have a stepson, Ryan Ayers, that's 37, I believe. And he was the grandson. He's got politics running through his blood. His grandpa was mayor for 12 years. I have 6 granddaughters and 1 grandson.
Oh
yeah, I know. Yeah, grandson was Alaskan too. Got 2 fur puppies. Got Murphy, a little boxer, 1-year-old. That's a lot of fun. And I got Dolly. She's a 3-year-old doodle. And she's just cool. She just lays around. She don't care much about anything. The reason I got in, long time ago, well, I'm saying a long time ago, 10 years ago, 11, 12 years ago, I started working in jail as a CO. And the people in there, I was just decent to them. And they joked me and said, why don't you run for sheriff? And I was like, man, I don't know how you do that. That's a long time ago. Then here just recently, I've had some people approach me about it. So I thought, why not? I'm just, I'm older now, a little wiser. Just thought I'd throw my name in there. See where the chips lie.
See what happens. And when you do a thing like that, it gives us a competitive election and a reason to talk to people. Otherwise, Landon, you'd be here and we wouldn't be talking to you today, right?
That's right.
Landon Needon, you're back. You're running for sheriff again. 4 years ago, you didn't get to do an election primary show because we didn't have a primary for the Democratic side.
That's right.
Tell us about yourself for those that haven't, that don't remember, your bio, your background, kind of your intention of being here.
Some of my biggest fans on the internet this week said that I was 63. That's not true. I'm 61. So don't push it too far, but I'm 61. I've had a life of public service. I started very young with my own ambulance service in the Knightstown area because we didn't have one. And I started a private service and was pretty successful with that. But I was 20 years old, I think, when I started it. So a lot of maturing to do and stuff, but I did it. I was lucky enough to get into law enforcement. I started in the town of Shirley. A few years after that, I went to the sheriff's department, stayed there 27 years, and retired after the last election. It didn't have everything to do with how the election turned out, but it was good timing for me with the retirement that the sheriff's department has. Since then, I went to Middletown Police Department and been their chief almost 3 years now. A year ago, I ended up somehow as the chief of Knightstown also, as their interim chief. My life right now is better than it's ever been, actually. I have 3 wonderful kids, Ashley, Brittany, and Cameron. 5 grandkids. I don't have as many grandkids yet as he does.
Catching up quick, though, I suppose.
I think that's going to change, but my son hasn't even started having kids yet. The 5 are from my 2 daughters. So, and we all live close here. The second part of the question is why I ran, or why am I running? And was that right?
Yeah.
Well, this is not the first time that I ran for political office. It's very hard in Henry County as a Democrat, and I know that. But that doesn't take away the desire to serve. That doesn't take the desire away to change things. That doesn't take the desire away from to run. I mean, running a political campaign and putting yourself out there is dangerous, but it's fun and it's enjoyable to do. And I really didn't know what I was going to do this year. But with the political environment going on, I saw maybe a little bit of opening that maybe some of the superpower of Republican power, not only in Henry County, but the entire state may change. And I thought it was an opportunity to do that. I think there needs to be a lot of changes locally. And that's why I decided to go ahead and do it. And there was nobody to tell me no. And I forgot a very important part of my life, and that's my dog, Baloo. A few years ago, I rescued a dog named Baloo, and we were best friends. And I almost brought him with me today, but you guys would like him so much, you'd want to keep him. So I brought him on.
So if your life right now is better than it's ever been, why on earth would you do something silly like run for public office?
Well, because as you know, I've tried several times and I've not been successful. I've been a law enforcement officer since 1988. I always had the goal to move up the ladder. And I really thought that I could win last time, and I thought that would be a great way to end my career. And, you should never give up. If it's a dream, if you have an idea of what you need to do, you think you can help the citizens, you think you can make things better, I'm not going to give up just because it's a hard race and so on and so forth. And I enjoy it. I work all the time. I enjoy the fight and the stress. And so it's not a bad thing.
Let's get into the questions, the meat and potatoes of some of these things, and it's going to be conversational. We do have an outline. If you're a patron, you do get copies of this stuff. It dropped into the Patreon ahead of time, into the Facebook group, so you kind of get to see where the conversation is going to go. And you're literally what gets us on the air and produces the podcast. I do want to apologize to the crowd that's watching out there. I know that the sound is a little muffled today. We're working on some technical stuff with the audio. If Zach can get it fixed tonight, he will. But we record the audio separately for the podcast. So I encourage you to check out the YouTube that'll be put out later that just has the podcast audio, or go to Spotify, iTunes, wherever, and look up Boss Hog of Liberty, and you'll get that there along with other 431 episodes that are out there. David, I want to hear from you and your leadership style and in the sheriff's department, you get the opportunity to choose the leaders, your chief deputy. What's your leadership philosophy, and maybe the direction you'd want to go with the chief deputy, and what the department leadership would look like?
Well, right now, I haven't chosen anybody, and I believe the fairest way to do things is to have an interview process. It's the absolute most qualified person, the best person that, will help lead with respect and dignity, will get the job. I mean, I haven't chosen anybody. I haven't even asked anybody. I haven't even talked to anybody about it.
What kind of qualities are you looking for in leadership and the folks that are going to lead the sheriff's department under you?
Qualities? Oh, integrity, transparency, accountability. We're humans. Everybody's going to make a mistake. It's how you stand up to them. And if there is a mistake, admit to them and learn from them. If I can't, if people aren't willing to learn, that stops growth. I want to grow the community, make it a positive place for people to come. Like they want to come in and count them, because they know they're going to be so. They know it's going to be nice. If an officer has an interaction with them, I want it to be a positive interaction. I don't want them, to be scared to death to get pulled over or, have these negative effects, because it affects the whole community. We are the face of the community. Everywhere.
Very good. And Landon, same question for you. The leadership, how you'd like to organize the department, if you've thought about a chief deputy or the direction you'd want to go.
I have, and I haven't made a decision, but I would want somebody to mirror my leadership style, and a couple of different parameters on my leadership style. One I stole from Rick McCorkle. And one of the most impressive things when he became sheriff, after the night that he won, he stood up in front of all of us and he said, "I want you to know this is not going to be the Rick McCorkle show. This is going to be the Henry County Sheriff's Department show." And he held true to that. And I respected that, and I learned that, and he let other people shine. There's a lot of leaders that want everybody to shine bright as long as they don't shine brighter than them. I'm kind of the opposite. I want all my people to shine better than I do and do better than I do. And I've done a lot of training. The next parameter would be, I learned several years ago that law enforcement's changing. But if you keep law enforcement the way it is or the way it was, you're not going to be very successful. You've got to train and lead for tomorrow. You've got to train and lead for the next 20 years, not the past. You've got to train these guys to be successful. I would look for somebody in the leadership in my department that felt the same way. Somebody that respects the chain of command, and will help people understand that when you make a rule and a parameter, that it has to be followed. And a second command, third command would have to follow that also. You have to, as David said, you have to promote team growth. If you have a leadership, somebody in your leadership that doesn't want your team to shine, then that's not the right person. You have to have somebody with experience. You have to have somebody that can look up to the leadership and the people I choose to be in those leadership positions. I was jealous of John Sproles when he got elected, because he had a really cool thing. A lot of people retired, including myself. He got to appoint brand new people, and that department under his leadership had all new people for a while. The majority of his folks were new. He had that opportunity to form that leadership, form the direction of that department, and have those people behind him. And that's a cool thing to do. And I would follow, that role that I want these young people. It's still a young department. I would want to prepare them for the next 20 years. And I would never ask them to do something that I haven't done or couldn't do. I remember when I took over the leadership of. Am I supposed to stop now?
No. I'm just signaling to Forrest that he's got the next segment here. You're good.
I'll quit after this.
It's just that subtle thing where we don't even have to speak to ourselves.
I felt that vibe, so I thought that was a shut up and go.
No.
Okay.
No, only I get that.
Okay.
And you will know it.
But when I took over the SWAT team, I wasn't the most tactical guy in the world. I wasn't the most gun guy in the world. But when the fellows on the SWAT team asked me to be their leader. That's how they did it back then, and it got approved by the sheriff. I felt like I had to learn everything about that SWAT team. I had to go out there and I had to learn how to shoot every gun and know what every gun was about. I had to learn the tactics, and I did. And I would use that same suit for the sheriff's department. There's a lot of things. I've learned a lot since I've been in leadership at the two little departments I'm at. But there's a lot of things that would smack me in the face and say, "Oh, I'm at the sheriff's department now." And I've got to learn this. I've got to understand that. I've got to understand the different divisions and so on and so forth. So,
all right, Forrest, you're in charge.
Yes. So, unfortunately, being elected sheriff isn't just about law enforcement, as the sheriff's department is one of the biggest budget line items within the county. And unfortunately, lately, that's gotten a lot of visibility within the county, particularly around the insurability of the county. So how do you view the sheriff's responsibility in protecting the insurability of the county and mitigating that risk? So, David, we'll go ahead and start with you.
On the insurance, what we'll have to do is work with the county council, the commissioners, and the insurance companies to do the absolute best thing we can do to try to mitigate any of these liabilities that we have out there. I mean, we're going to have to be careful, because there is, there's lots of money's involved in that. I mean, a lot.
You're going to have very high deductibles anytime you have an auto incident, anytime you have any sort of
exactly 25,000. So
that's a hell of a deductible when you have a car crash.
Well, about a 2 or 3 year old squad car, that'll just be gone, and I don't know, exactly how it will work, but, we will have to be careful, I don't know what else to say about it, really, because, I mean, we're going to have to be careful because it's going to be expensive. It's going to get more expensive, but the less we can mitigate, maybe we can convince the insurance companies to, take a chance on us again, just to see if we can get that lowered. Because right now, it's, we're just in a tough spot and we're just going to have to deal with it.
Okay. Landon, what are your thoughts?
So, the budget, I think that everybody that is in one of those elected positions over there at the council and the commissioners and every office over there, you have to work with them, work with them to help their departments as much as you're helping your department. And I realize that, the sheriff's department's the biggest expense the county has. What is it, 60 or 70% of the budget goes to the sheriff's department? I'm just guessing. I know it's high. As far as the current situation, I think, I'm not an insurance man, but I think that if we get our ducks in a row and we can go some years without numerous claims and numerous lawsuits, I think the insurance companies will be kinder to us. And I've heard of things like this happening before, especially in workman's comp issues and car issues where there's a lot of claims and you pay higher rates for a while, and sometimes you can earn the trust and get that back. How you do that comes with leadership, that comes with a team effort. The unfortunate thing is anybody can sue anybody for anything. They can say anything they want in a lawsuit. But when you have a lot of those lawsuits actually materializing and producing the money, you have to take a serious look at yourself. You have to take a serious look at everybody in there and have some good conversations with everybody that works there. Not just the guys on the road driving the cars, but every single person in the jail, and make sure that we're programmed and we practice and we figure out how to approach things differently that don't put ourselves out there for those lawsuits.
So you mentioned both the road deputies, the jail operations. Do either of you foresee operational changes being made to help mitigate that risk?
I think that's a must. And I don't work there. I'm not judging what they've done or haven't done and saying this is right or that's wrong, because I don't know the details. And that's part of the problem. A lot of people judge without the details. But I'll tell you, that'll be the first thing. I know some people in that jail that are in leadership, and I know they're good folks and they make good decisions. So I don't know where that is. I'd have to look at that and see where the problem is and change from there. I would hope that some intensive de-escalation, hey, let's have some patience. Let's back up and take a look at this. Let's not be in a hurry. When you're in a jail setting, it seems to me that you have all the time. Time is on your side. Unless somebody's trying to hurt somebody else, time's on your side. So, I need to figure out what the problem is, listen to that good leadership that's already there, and figure that out and back it down a notch.
Yeah, in the jail, there are good people in there. But I tell you what, that's it. The jail is the worst neighborhood in Henry County, besides maybe the prison. Okay, they're both the same neighborhood. It's absolutely the worst neighborhood. You have to deal with the worst of our society. They're there for a reason. But when you treat people with respect and dignity, and like Landon said, de-escalate every situation. Think twice and act once is a much better way to do things. When I was in there, when you treat the offenders with respect and you do it consistently, they'll follow. They follow in because they've been yelled at, screamed at, and everything their whole life. When you talk to them and treat them like human beings, you get a much better response from them. And I think 90% of the tort claims from the sheriff's department come out of the jail. If you can get a good handle on that, then that can minimize a lot of the expense of the tort claims, which is going to cost, torts are anywhere from $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 up to $700,000 I asked for that last one. I think that's the state maximum. But in the jail, if you follow the Indiana jail standards and the SOPs, that minimizes all the, not all the mistakes, but it minimizes some of those torts.
And on the operational side, I think it is fair to point out the Courier Times article that came out last week, I guess. They did mention that the Tanner Strikely pursuit was one of the reasons why, this insurance issue happened. And the insurance company found that they didn't have supervision on the shift at that time. But since then, the council did authorize adding a bunch of basically another layer of brass, right? So now you have corporals that are in place. So you do have somebody on each shift that is supervising the shift. So you do have a chain of command that's always there, which I don't know that that's well known yet at this point. But that was a change that was made after that incident, but it doesn't seem to solve the insurance problem today, right?
Yeah, I knew that they added another layer in there, but it is teamwork. And you talk about pursuits. There's a statewide pursuit policy, but at the two departments I'm involved in, I've really restricted that. And the problem is the way police officers thought about pursuits for years. It was fun. It was a sport. I got a pursuit. That's great. Very guilty of that myself. Oh, we got a pursuit. Let's do this. But you have to change that entire mentality these days. And we should have back then. That that pursuit should not be a sport. The pursuit should only be something that's super necessary. And one of the things that's strictly against one of my guidelines that restricts that pursuit policy is if you know the person, why are we changing or chasing them? Because and there's if you get a call that somebody is all over the roadway, they're about to hit people head on, they've gone off in the road, you've got to keep them from causing more damage. That pursuit would be something different. But you see somebody that's wanted and you light them up and they take off, chase them a mile and shut your lights off. You just got another felony charge that you can get another warrant for. And patience is a good virtue, and you can catch that person later, be smarter than them, don't have the chase in a car. So a hard look at that pursuit policy and take that mentality out that the pursuit's a sport. So and equip your brass, whoever that is, with that strong will. Hey, call that pursuit off. They may not like it, but call that pursuit off, especially if you know who they are. And if you don't know who they are, and the only reason they're taken off is because you activated your red lights in the first place, we just need to swallow our pride a little bit and say the best thing to do is not do it.
So that's a potential operational change. If the operational changes aren't effective and costs continue to rise or coverage becomes harder to secure, what trade-offs should or should not be made within the sheriff's office budget?
Well, I've been familiar with a lot of budgets over the years, but the sheriff's department budget and how it is now, I don't know how that works, and I don't know where the fat is. I've been gone now for 3 years. I don't know where you could take that money away. I haven't gone to the courthouse and got the budget to sit and have some masterful plan. See, that's why you had the Democrats on first, right? So that we can get all the problems out there. Now the Republicans, before they get here in a couple of weeks,
They'll come clean it up.
they can go and figure out the answers to that
You're the
question.
test case.
Yes, but that's okay because there probably is some fat there somewhere. I would say that they've done a good job in the last few years of getting more cars. I see more cars sitting around the jail and more cars out there than I ever have before. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but before we struggled and they would get 3 to 4 new cars a year, and when we get rid of a car, it'd have 250,000 miles on it. I had one car with over 300,000 miles, so you don't want to go backwards there because that costs more money. But where do you trim that? But I would take a serious look at the budget. Not make that decision myself, but work with the council, work with the commissioners and my leadership and say, where can we've got to pay some more insurance. Where's that's going to come from? Because nobody wants to pay more taxes. And, it's scary to me. What in 2028, there's a danger with the lit and the low taxes and everything else. Those things may disappear. I just can't imagine trying to deal with a budget when that stuff disappears.
On the budget, I mean, we will have to just deal with what we got. I mean, it's just like at home. You don't go on, put in an in-ground pool if you don't have the money to do it or the means to do it. You're just going to have to figure out a way to cut some money. And you have to work within the constraints of the budget, period. I mean, there's always ways to cut a little bit. If you cut a little bit from everywhere,
I'll tell you what. The next sheriff, I mean, this isn't the first time they've had budget problems. I remember the entire 8 years that Butch Baker was sheriff. He had to turn $1 into $10 every day.
Yeah,
and he was masterful at that. So how we survived on the amount of money, I would see his paperwork. So somebody would need to could lean on him and say, "Hey, Butch, how did you do that back then?" Because I see that coming back.
Butch even took forgive some of his salary back that he could have claimed as a salary, and he wouldn't accept it.
So are you guys offering to not take your full salary? Is that what I'm hearing?
Folks, you've heard it here first.
Just checking.
Hey, I'll tell you. Well, I won't get into that. Oh yeah, I've been.
This is the part of the show where it becomes conversational.
Well, Knightstown. I went to Knightstown. The chief before me, and I'm just temporary down there. I think I'm called the interim chief still. This was our year anniversary, but he made $80,000 some dollars, and I said
Straight from the town?
Huh?
Straight from the town?
Well,
Where do I apply?
he made a little more of that with the school, but anyway, he made some good money for the town, but he was salary. And there was really no accountability how many days he worked. And I'm not, hey, if he can pull that off, more power to him, But when I went there, I said, I want to be paid by the hour. And I made about 50,000 last year. And so if that's what it takes, I don't really know how the sheriff is paid. I don't know what his salary is now. I'm sure it's a salary. I don't think it gets paid by the hour, but you make tough choices, and those tough choices start at the top.
I assume that if you're elected sheriff, you're probably not going to continue on as the interim chief in Knightstown and the chief in Middletown at the same time.
Darn it. I'm so enjoying those rumors that he's going to run everything. It's a power-hungry fool,
Take up the western half of the county, then the whole county.
But no. If I was lucky enough to win, I would help Knightstown and Middletown get another chief, and I would support them as the sheriff. But that's going to be a big job, and there's no room for part-time jobs or anything else when you're running the sheriff's department, the detective division, the road division, the jail, the transport division, the court division. There would be no time for another job. So I absolutely will go on record saying that no, I would not.
And if I'm lucky enough to win, I will absolutely work with Landon in Middletown and Knightstown. I'll draw all the departments back together.
Very good. Because there has been some differences this year.
Yep.
You in one of your many hats you wear, you're involved with the Elks Lodge, right?
Yep.
And I'm sure you got a question around that too, Mr. Plank.
Well, so every year the Elks Lodge puts on a law officer appreciation banquet. It was particularly focused around Newcastle Police Department and Henry County Sheriff's Office. 2 years ago, it branched out and we invited Middletown and Knightstown to participate. This past year, the invitation was extended to include Indiana State Police for those troopers who are residents of Henry County who serve in Henry County. And in the last year, the Henry County Sheriff's Office chose not to participate, which publicly appeared to drive a wedge between that blue and brown line. So as sheriff, what would you do to bridge that gap back together, that regardless if it's blue or brown, you wear the same face of law enforcement to support the county?
We're a team and do everything possible to bring everybody back together because, we're all fighting the same fight. We all want the same thing. We want unity in the community. Not a bad line. But honestly, yeah, we all work together. We all want to put the bad guys in jail. We all want, things to be peaceful. We want our citizens to be able to walk down the street, not scared. We want to be able to walk around Baker Park, not have, somebody laying on a park bench. Do everything we can to draw everybody back together. I think it'd be easy,
I'm not privileged to the sheriff's notes, and I have no idea why. I can assume, but I don't know a concrete reason why that wedge was drawn between everybody. But it started by the exclusion of the small towns. The whole time I was on the sheriff's department, when we would have a training, we would invite all the small towns, and everybody would get training that way. But the big thing was we all got to work together. And I think if Dave or I win the sheriff's race, January 1, we're going to bring those towns back together because you got to work together. I'm from the small town, and now I'm at the small town, and to be excluded and not include those guys, I'm not going to say there wasn't problems, but the problem solving within the towns was non-existent, and it was like, let's just shut them out. Let's push certain people out. I think this town has too many police officers. Why does this little town have 7 officers? What, instead of working with them and pulling everybody in, we really drove a wedge. And I don't know if that was the precursor, because I sure appreciated when I went to Middletown that the Elks invited us to that function you were talking about, because that's been a big deal my entire career when we had the Officer of the Year, and I'm happy for everybody that's ever gotten it. And when you included Middletown and Knightstown, and then Knightstown a year ago said, no, we don't want to do it, I was really bamboozled about that. I couldn't figure out why that would happen. But then this year, of course, you invited Knightstown and Middletown, and Middletown and Knightstown both went. And I was just absolutely floored when the sheriff's department didn't go. I don't know their reasoning. I know they held their own, but it's just it's no more than what you said. It's driving a wedge between everybody, and we're out there working together. I need the sheriff's department. The sheriff's department's been very good to me at Middletown. I couldn't function without them, especially if we had some. We try to handle a lot of investigations ourselves, but if we have a murder or something, that's way over our head. We need their help. If I have one officer that's working in their respective area, and they've got somebody going to the jail, I have to have the sheriff's department. So to back us up, and we're at the far corners of the county, we have to work together. And again, I'll point out that the sheriff's department's been very good to my 2 jurisdictions, but I don't know why we can't include the smaller towns and be appreciative of them all there too. And that, again, Dave and I haven't talked about this, but just from what he says today, I think that would be a common goal that we would have, is to make those guys included again. There was a fight when they wouldn't even let them on the radio. And I've been on the 911 board since it started in the 90s. And I would I was the only guy that voted when Greensboro started their police department. I was the only guy on the board that voted to let them come on to the CAD system and the radio system. Everybody else voted. And that was a year-long battle for them. I just don't understand that. If there's problems, fix them. If I have a problem with that officer, let's fix that problem. If I have a problem with this department, fix that problem. But just to exclude them, I was just dumbfounded.
So, Sheriff, you mentioned Greensboro, and I know Sheriff Sproles has been on here and he's been very vocal about considering towns like Greensboro to be badge factories with the number of deputies they have versus the population of the community, and that how those folks don't necessarily live in this area. And his view, I think, is that they've used the town police department to create badges so they can go work private security in places that aren't here. Do you view this have a similar view or a different view of small towns and that the way that those operate, or is that the purview of the sheriff?
That's for each sheriff to decide, what they want to do with that. I've never been put in that position, so I really don't know how to answer it. I think that you have to be careful. The more officers, as long as everybody works for the same goal, wouldn't be that big of a deal, as long as, they fulfill their obligation to the town that they're getting their powers through. And that would be up to each town board too. It wouldn't be up to the sheriff. It's up to the individual town boards, how they conduct with those.
I'll tell you, in all these conflicts, there's a spark plug, and there's been a spark plug causing the spark. So, like in the town of Knightstown, half their shifts weren't covered, and the sheriff's department was having to go down there when that's a fully funded police department. It just wasn't covered. There were, at times, more times not covered than covered, and that caused some animosity. And I'll just go on and say right now, and of course, I'm used to getting slapped around for telling the truth, but they had a bad chief in Greensboro. When they first started that Greensboro department, that chief had no business being a chief. Sheriff Sproles was right about that. There were several people within the sheriff's department that was right that chief was bad. And when you have bad leadership, you bring on bad people, and they have bad ways. There were some good people there too. Recently, within the last year, Greensboro, which has a really cool town council, and they were given some information they didn't have. The chief kind of messed up, and they got rid of that chief. And here I'm speaking for them. I'm sorry, but they got rid of that chief. He got fired, and they hired a new chief. And this new chief, I wish everybody give him a chance because he is the proper leadership, and he is a good guy. He has experience. He's a full-time firefighter in Indianapolis, and he does this part-time. And yes, those officers out there, part of their perks, the reason they're there, they buy their own police cars. I don't really agree with that, but they buy their own police cars. They get to go work at Walmart or at Kroger and provide security and make some money for themselves. It is a benefit for the town. It's also a liability in some instances if it's not handled properly. And but those sparks, what caused the problem. And around the county, silly stuff would happen, and the county guys would say, "Oh my gosh," and so some of that was warranted. But again, you got to go after those problems, recognize them, and try to fix them. And I think Greensboro has fixed itself, and I think they're doing an amazing job. I think that some of the other small towns are having an amazing job. I was the Caddis town marshal for 21 years, and we had all volunteers there. And over the years, we had several different reserves, and we allowed them all to work off duty. But we had our thumb on that job. We would approve what they could work and the liabilities, and we had them insured. But we only had one, maybe two police cars. We never allowed a bunch of police cars. That's their business, and that's their liability. It's all legal. But I really think the problem that you're speaking of has fixed itself, and I haven't talked to the county guys to see what they think about it, but
I'm pretty sure that that it is under control now. Because the town councils, they realized they were getting some heat from it too, so it pretty much rectified itself.
So in those instances, does the liability of the badge fall on the township, or does it fall under the special deputy badge of the sheriff?
Every one of these security companies that these people work outside of, because I've done it before also. They make you sign an indemnity clause, which their insurance, the security office indemnity clause takes care of the liabilities of that officer.
When I was the Caddistown Marshal, the total budget for the entire town was like $22,000, I believe, somewhere around that area. The police department was a very small part of that budget. And the whole time there, I told every one of those officers, we're one lawsuit away from losing our department. We get sued one time and we'll be done. And I believe that. And I think all these towns are in that same shape. So there's huge liability. And even if they have the agreements signed, they could still be sued because those cars are registered to that town. So, and come back to that town, and they have to have insurance. Now, the officers will reimburse the town for the cost of the insurance, but it's one lawsuit away of stopping. Basically.
Well, I wasn't talking about cars. I was just talking about them driving their individual car to wherever, not taking a not taking a department car. Yeah. I'm talking about the individual person.
Oh, yeah. Well,
that's what I was just wanting to.
The individuals, but those cars, one accident away of a $300,000 lawsuit, one situation away of the $500,000 lawsuit. None of those towns insurance. Talk about insurance problems. If that happened once in one of those little towns, I think the police department would be done. But
I guess I'd like this is going to be an open-ended question for each of you. I'd like we'll start with you, David, because Landon's had the mic for a while. He's really good at it.
Landon's being over here.
What's one thing the sheriff's department is getting right? Like, is really getting right now, and one area you think is open for the most improvement?
Well, all I'm going to say about this is that there's always room for improvement everywhere. The things we're doing right, we have some awesome equipment, have awesome officers, but there's always room for improvement anywhere, in any occupation. So that's about all I'm going to say about that.
You forgot the part about what they're getting right, though. You just heard the criticism side. What are they doing well?
The officers they're professional officers. They are doing good. They're patrolling good. It seems like things are actually all right. We do have some problems with the insurance and things like that, but crime's down because I can tell because I look at the jail list every day. There were times it was, the jail was holding 250, 260 people. It's down to like 179 now, 180, stays right there. So, their visibility, I do believe is, maybe moving some of the crime out of the county. I don't know.
Well, I think during COVID, there was a big backlog, right? And then I guess the judges and the prosecutor's office have helped work to get people pushed through a bit as well.
Yeah. And, it seems that people are bonding out more often than just staying. I don't know if, the economy's not that much better, as we all know. But that's just what it appears to me, that, the jail numbers are down, which, lightens load on the jail and the expenses because, the jail's like, I don't know, 40% of the sheriff's budget. So anytime you do, keep the numbers lower, it helps.
Very good. Same question for you, Landon.
What's right?
What's right, and what's the biggest area for improvement? So give me a win and a loss, I guess.
I think what's right is the fact that the sheriff was able to secure huge raises for the deputies in the last few years, and that makes sustainability, makes them want to stay here. They allow them to live in neighboring counties. That's right. The equipment, as Dave said, the equipment's amazing right now. I've never seen it better. I think that the morales are good. They've hired some great officers. So that's the big pluses that I see that they've done right. And what's going well now is the personnel and that equipment and what they pay the guys. Of course, they still deserve more money, but it's 10 times better than what it was 4 years ago. So,
Yep.
And the improvement, this may sound critical, but it's just for every police department. And social media is the biggest demon right now, and how we handle social media. Some of the things that have been put out, I would like to see. The first thing you want to do as a leader is you want to back your guys, and you should back your guys. But sometimes that stuff backfires. Just the minute you post something or post a video, it backfires and causes more problems. I can say that because I'm kind of the king of controversy on social media right now, and everybody's not afraid to criticize. I think between John Spoles and myself, if they took John Spoles' name off of the local internet and took my name off the local internet, there wouldn't be much on there. So,
Collectively, it is the most watched episode, right?
And the one thing I
So
would,
far.
and in my list of things that I would do, I'll throw a little bit in here, and if we get a chance to talk more about it later, I will. But I think that the sheriff's department needs to get out in the communities and bring back, as I said 4 years ago, that I would do is a big push on community policing and get the deputies involved in the smaller communities.
So, as the sheriff, you are the one overseeing the department, maintaining the deputies. How would you both attract and retain the talent that you have to keep the talent within the county to fight off the neighboring counties? As Henry County, we don't have the same to offer as a Hancock County or as a Hamilton County. So, how do you retain that talent that you have within the county as the sheriff?
Well, you want me to go first?
Go ahead.
I'll try not to talk too long, but
Okay, that's it.
you retain those people by clear standards, clear guidelines. Nobody wants to get in trouble, but everybody wants to know what the expectations are. And if those expectations are clear and they know what direction they're supposed to go and they follow that direction, you can let their own light shine. You can let them, feel like they're doing something on their own. The first thing I did at both my small departments was listen to the people, listen to the officers and say, what do you want? Yes, you can do this. Don't restrain their talents. I mean, at Knightstown, we have a wonderful writer. He writes really good stories, and he's very eloquent on Facebook, and he even has a spot in the Newcastle paper. You should encourage those kind of things and let those guys discover their talents. Give them things more to do, make them feel good about their job. And, you still have to criticize, you still have to lead, but with those things well defined and you're involved and you know what that is, I think they will stay.
Well, another thing is to always push the council for increased wages, because you all know that it's a tough job, and we have to be. I think we're within 95% or 100% right now of our surrounding counties pay wise, and we just have to keep it there because it'd be so easy for them. That's really the only reason that most people work is because of money. Do you guys?
I volunteer here.
I don't know that any of us are independently
I'm
wealthy.
just saying, just to push the council all the time, just to keep the wages up there.
Indeed. Do you think we got through the meat and potatoes of this?
Yeah.
Did it feel good?
Yeah.
Conversationally, I think we got through most of what we have in the show notes, which means it's time for our
Bones is chomping at the bit over there.
Bones' segment. He said he wanted to bring his part to this. So this is a new introduction. It's going to be a part of all of the candidate series, and it's Mr. Bones' personality.
But let's
segment.
preface this. He is not from Henry County.
I am not from Henry County. This is so lighthearted and non-political.
Just remember, the arrest powers go across county lines, okay?
I understand
All
that.
right. All right.
There's nothing on here that's going to get me in too much trouble. I don't think. All right, who wants to go first?
I'll go.
Okay, since Dean's going to fill in most of it
That's
back
fine.
in. Okay. If you could trade places for one day with anybody, dead or alive, who would it be?
God, I want to say Howard Hughes, but I'm just,
He had a hell of an airplane.
I was going to say Howard Hughes is not a bad answer.
But no. Right now,
Yeah.
how about my father?
Okay.
He's passed for a few years, but I would trade that for one day.
Okay.
I didn't hear who he said.
His dad.
His dad.
Oh, he's dead. Okay. So I could, the same question for me?
Same
So
question.
I could be anybody.
If you could be anybody for one day,
Dead or alive.
dead or alive, who would you like to be?
But while they're alive.
No. Well, I mean, while they're alive, yeah.
I mean, it'd
You
be
ready
cold
for
and
this?
dark.
Yes.
Elvis.
Okay. Elvis is, I don't think I've ever heard anybody answer with Elvis on this question.
Yes. I think that would be cool.
What's the why behind it?
Peanut
Well,
butter sandwiches.
I would
Peanut
love to be
butter
able to
banana
sing, but I
sandwiches.
can't. I would love to be able to entertain, but I can't. And I would like to have money, and I don't. And for one day, that lifestyle would be really fun.
Okay.
You don't want old Elvis. You want early Elvis.
Yeah.
I assume. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to be
Memphis
the heavy
Mafia.
one.
All right. Dream vacation. Money is not an object. You go first this time.
Ooh, dream vacation.
You got to
Money,
choose between
Hawaii.
Knightstown and Middletown.
Hawaii.
An Airbnb in one of those places.
Yes.
Money is not an object. You can go
Hawaii.
for it. Hawaii?
Yeah, I've never been. Probably will never get to go, but I would really. I'd like
Any
to be-
particular island?
I don't know.
Any sites that you'd want to see?
Pearl Harbor
Okay.
would be number one, and I just would like to see that.
David?
I'm thinking Pebble Beach with my entire family so I can play golf there.
Very good.
So you want to play and not watch?
I want to play. And watch.
It sounds like a great shared experience.
It does.
Down there in
Last
Monterey.
meal. What is if you're on, let's not say death row, but you get to say what your last meal is going to be.
You're before the potential firing squad.
Shrimp and lobster, scallops.
Shrimp, lobster, and scallops.
Just stop at Red Lobster.
No vegetables in
No
there.
vegetables, no.
It's your last one.
Yeah,
To gorge yourself on that.
exactly. I'm. Let's go.
You know, you probably just made 10 people in Henry County very happy just at the thought that I would be having a last meal.
Just
But-
10?
Huh?
Just 10?
Yeah, that would be very happy. They're on a scale of.
Well, let's see what dinner is brought to your doorstep tomorrow.
Okay. You ready?
Yeah.
Popeye's chicken
Popeyes.
with mashed potatoes and gravy.
So your dream meal is in Muncie.
Yes.
Or
no,
Greenfield.
Anderson or Muncie. Yeah. All right. Does Muncie have a Popeye's? Anymore?
Yeah, they dipped up on Walnut Street.
I love Popeye's chicken.
You're almost at McGalliard.
Okay. You just won the lottery. What is the first thing you splurge on yourself? Not for a charity, not for a loved one. This is what you are spending on yourself. First thing you're buying.
A new house.
New house. David?
My wife a bigger wedding ring.
That was a very political answer.
Yes. Is she watching? I bet she is.
We're just going to continue to the next one.
You know what my favorite
My
thing
my wife would say, "Oh no, mine's too sentimental. I couldn't possibly." That would be what mine would say.
my favorite thing about David Bockover is his wife. She's a wonderful person.
Thank you, Landon.
Yeah, makes sense. All right. This might I want to hear your answer on this one.
Uh-oh.
They're making a movie about you tomorrow. Who plays you?
Danny DeVito.
That was the first thought in my mind.
be right.
Cruise.
Oh, I was gonna say you got to say Landon Dean plays you in the movie.
He's got the hairstyle.
All right. So that was a nice little light subject.
Did a
to
great
know
job.
everybody out.
Did a great job. Are you going to ask the same questions for the
But-
next
no,
group,
you have to
or are you
change
going to
it
mix
up.
it up?
we got
Because
different questions.
all
We
right.
can-
because these people are going to study. I know these clerks candidates next week are going to be like, oh, I know who's playing me in the movie.
Okay.
That'll be what happens
Yeah,
next.
we got different questions we can ask.
All right. Well, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Probably time for us to move into final thoughts. Chance to wrap things up for these candidates to ask us to ask for money, because you shouldn't be a candidate on a podcast and not ask for money, because yard signs aren't free, volunteers aren't free, all of that. Mr. Bones, we'll stick with you though. Is there anything we forgot or that you wanted to ask that you've been too shy to ask about?
There's nothing I want to ask. I'm sorry, I don't live here.
Yet.
Yeah,
You still have time to get here and vote in the primary.
still not happening.
You could register to vote right here on Race Street. If your heart and soul believes that you live here, you live here.
Seems like a lovely town that I see on Thursdays, but Rushville's still home, and it will remain home as for as cheap as it is to live there. But as we all know, I'm the bourbon guy around here. If you're not doing anything next Wednesday, March 11th, down in Rushville, we're introducing 4 new barrel picks at Barrelhead, all mostly from the Brown Foreman line, Jack Daniels, Woodford Reserve, and Old Forester. Their engraver will be down there to engrave bottles that you may want. So if you want to put your name on there, you want to put Kelly's name on there, you want to put the future child's name on there, they will put that on there next Wednesday, March 11th, 6 to 8 at the Barrelhead Bourbon Bar, 123 West 2nd Street.
Very nice.
Yeah.
All right. David, thanks for being here.
Well, thank you for having me.
I hope this wasn't nearly as scary as we made it out to be in the invitation.
It's fine now. I appreciate it. I thank you guys all for having me too, because this is my first one. So hey, who knows? Invite me back. I'll be a little better.
Very good. You looking for volunteers? You're looking for campaign cash? People want to learn more about the campaign. How do they get in touch with you?
Well, they can get me on Facebook, of course, and we're having a party at the Mad Hyena on Saturday the 14th from 5 to 7, a fundraiser party. It's going to be karaoke and some music. It'll be fun. Food. It'll be awesome.
Very good. All right.
Thank you.
Mr. Zach, any questions you wanted to ask tonight?
No, I'm trying to think if there's. I'll ask one just because it was kind of tangential to the special deputies thing, special deputy badges. Do you guys think that those should be handled any differently in the department, keeping track of them, who gets them, things like that? Do you guys have any thoughts on that?
Well, if there are, as of right now, I work at the courthouse, and I am a special deputy. That's how I'm classified. So there has to be, a small number,
Yeah. Do you think that?
passed out, but there has to be control over it. You have to know where each and every one lies.
Okay. Man, same thoughts.
Special
Deputy badges, like just accountability, and not accountability to the officers necessarily, but keeping track how many are out, who has them, things like that. Because I think that it came up with the current department. They said, "Hey, who has them?" And they said, "We don't know." It said there's no list. They don't know where the badges are, who has them, kind of thing. Is that something you think should be changed or addressed?
As I think back over as a sheriff, I can think about how many special deputies were under each sheriff that I worked for. But the special deputy badge is a special tool that needs to be used correctly. And for folks like Dave that need arrest powers when they're at work, it's perfect. But then they don't have to go to the academy, so it's really beneficial. I have a special deputy's retirement badge. I think that's a good idea. And if you need to have somebody that has a specific function, I think a special deputy badge is very important, imperative, and saves money. What you don't want to have is a special deputy ID that you give to a friend or a family member just because they supported you for sheriff, or allows them to go out and do jobs, because there's virtually not much training required for a special deputy's card.
40 hours.
And just like the reserve program, they have to get so many hours training every year, and they go out and do these jobs. So that special deputy, it's a very little training. So again, it's a tool. You have to learn how to, use that tool correctly, use it at the proper times, and be transparent about it. Who is a special deputy and why? if you're sitting there as a sheriff and you want to make somebody a special deputy, and you have to sit and scratch your head and you say, well, why do I want them to be a special deputy? They shouldn't be a special deputy.
Well, and it has to be monitored. You have to know exactly who has them, where they're at.
All right. Anything else, Mr. Zach?
Nope, that's all I got.
All right. Landon, thanks for being here.
Thank you for letting me be here.
Appreciate you coming
And I
back
don't hear
again.
the police cars screeching up this time.
No, they're probably in silent mode outside. Looking for volunteers, ways people can get involved in the campaign, help out over the next couple months.
I am looking for volunteers. Of course, I'm looking for money. I'm looking for those people that don't feel like they have a voice now because they don't fit anywhere. I'm looking for those young liberal folks and conservative folks that don't feel like anybody wants them. I want their help. I want them to be involved. I think that's our future. We should get them involved now. I don't think everybody in politics ought to be over the age of 50. I think we need to listen to the people in their 20s. I wish I had the ability to motivate the younger crowd like Bernie Sanders did when he ran. I don't understand that, but he did. I think that's the
Maybe
key.
you're not old enough yet.
Yeah, maybe I'm not old enough, but I would love to have that help. Of course, any donations, contact me on Facebook. Everybody in the county has my number apparently, so give me a call. I'm still in the organization stage. I think the time is just now starting to get busy. I think, it still may be early in the stage to be putting signs out and making everybody crazy. I know 4 years ago, everybody was so sick of signs because there were so many of them. And
I've already seen a few from the prosecutor's race pop up in yards
Yes.
already.
But I would love to have some help and, in search of the truth and who the best next sheriff will be. That's what I want.
Very good. Forrest, thanks for joining us tonight.
Yeah.
Anything we forgot on your side? You feel like you got it all out? You got all your questions out there?
One last question. Let's fast forward a couple of years. January, February 2029. You're 2 years into your term as sheriff. What do you want the residents of Henry County to look at the sheriff's department and say, wow, that was the difference maker?
We didn't have any lawsuits, but that's almost impossible. But also, hey, we saw a sheriff's deputy in the county. We saw a sheriff's deputy in a small town. There was a sheriff's deputy at our town council meeting. Those kind of things.
I'll say 2 years from now, I'd like somebody to come out and say, man, those guys, they're extremely pleasant. They're extremely nice. They're respectful. I want that. I want somebody to say, something, I'd like to come there and live. The place is safe. It's nice. Everybody's cordial. Unity and community.
Very good. Appreciate you guys both being here. This is an important conversation. I'm glad we got to start it out with you both. Looking forward to a lot more of these around this table with the folks as they're running for office in Henry County. Thank you both for putting your name on the ballot. We've had a number of elections in this county over the 9 years the show has existed, where you look at a race and you go, well, there's nothing to talk about because we don't have anybody that's running. I think each of you running makes the other one a better candidate. And that's important for Henry County, and it's going to make us better in the fall when we have a contested election in the fall as well. We are going to continue the candidate series Thursday of next week. We're getting a new county clerk, and we've got two candidates joining us next Thursday. So with that, we say thank you guys very much, and we'll see you next week.